Welcome to South Centers Chat. Today we have a very special guest, President Michelle Johnston from the College of Coastal Georgia, and we're going to talk about student experience at the college. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Today, our special guest is the president of College of Coastal Georgia, Michelle Johnston. And Michelle, very warm welcome to you today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. We're happy to reconnect with Michelle. For those in our audience that are familiar with the geography, of course, we're in Ohio at Ohio State University, and working from here, Michelle used to be our neighbor at the University of Rio Grande, just a short 40-minute drive from our location in Southern Ohio, where she served as president from 2014 until 2018. And then she got a calling from her Southern home. Really, Michelle is a native of the Southern US, and Michelle, you served and studied at various universities there, and I think we were talking about those a little bit earlier. You can name those off, the various universities that you were part of as a student, and then as a professor, and then an administrator. That was your background, and then coming to Rio Grande was a step away from those Southern roots, so to speak.
It was. It really was. Well, first, thank you, Tom, for hosting me, and it's always a pleasure to be on a program like this, and to be with you personally. You're a dear friend, and I just am excited about the chance to talk today about what's going on for us at the College of Coastal Georgia, but also kind of reminiscing over some of the connections between what we do here and what the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College is all about. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really grew up in the Deep South, and those institutions we were talking about. I started at the University of Alabama and did a bachelor's degree there. And then I went to LSU for my master's, and then I went to Mississippi State for my PhD, and then the University of Florida for a postdoc. And so I did kind of this, we laugh, it was this tour somewhat of a large part of the Southeastern Conference. So that was always a challenge and a lot of fun to talk with people about too, when I was in Ohio in the world of the Big Ten. So it's, but yes, I really, as coming back to Georgia, as you said, kind of came back to some of my Southern roots, but I always felt at home in Ohio, and so welcomed and loved the people in the area around Rio Grande and in the state of Ohio.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. I reciprocate. It's a pleasure to reconnect with you after your departure from Ohio. It's been a while, and this opportunity came up, and we're certainly glad and very pleased to have the opportunity to catch up a little bit. And as you mentioned, the coming to Ohio from the South, you were at University of Rio Grande, and for our viewers who might not be familiar with Ohio geography, it's in the Appalachian foothills and very rural area. And so there would be some similarities, but there's also some differences. But I thought maybe you might kind of compare and contrast, kind of the setting of University of Rio Grande with where you're at now at Coastal Georgia, and kind of the environment is different. Obviously, you're on the coast, you see the beautiful sunrise over the Atlantic, and it's a port city, right, and bigger metropolitan area than Rio Grande, but you might reflect on differences and similarities as well.
No, absolutely. I think I'd like to start with a really important, and probably the most important similarity, and that is that what I experienced at the University of Rio Grande was that the people were just incredible. so caring, so dedicated at the institution, but also in the community to being good neighbors and good stewards of the resources in the area and trying to make improvements. And just I think that the things that I've seen here in this community are very similar. Just great people to work with. And I think it goes to the old adage that you hear, there are good people everywhere, and there definitely are. And so I think that's a real similarity of just really good people who want the best for the college here, for the university in Rio Grande, and for our students. So that's a really strong similarity. Of course, when you look at the histories of these two institutions, they're so different. You know, the Rio was founded in 1876, so that's a rich history of 145 years, if I'm doing my math right. Here at the College of Coastal Georgia, this institution was founded as a two-year college in 1961. And so, you know, we are just 60 years into our life as a college, and we have evolved from a two-year institution to a four-year bachelor's degree granting institution. And we've been a four-year institution in the university system of Georgia now for about 11 years. So a very long-standing institution, and one that is a little younger. I think we're going to have an opportunity to see a little bit of our campus here. This campus is located in, as you mentioned, Tom, a port city. It's called the Golden Isles, is this area, and it really is made up of Brunswick, Jekyll Island, St. Simon's Island, Sea Island, and Little St. Simon's Island is just this area known as the Golden Isles. And what you're seeing in the video are parts of our campus, our library. We have a conference center on campus. You saw a little bit of the lake as the video was starting. This is our nursing and health sciences building. Just incredible campus with the flavor of the coast. You'll see, in addition to these pine trees, you're seeing some palm trees. So we really have the flavor of the natural, trees and other kinds of vegetation that you would see in the coastal area. This is our teacher education center and student activity center, and you're just seeing a lot of the places we have on campus. This is one of our residence halls. We have two residence halls on our campus. We have one residence hall off campus. And so it's just as our current Student Government Association president says, I love the way she puts this, we're a small big, meaning we're a small institution, but we're big enough to have a lot of resources and a lot of other kinds of things that you would expect on a college campus. You can get really the full college experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you have beautiful facilities, and, the architecture, when you said 1961, that would be in comparison to a lot of red brick on the Rio Grande campus, and
right,
and buildings that date back much further. So,
no doubt, every building on this campus has either been built or significantly renovated in the last 6 to 7 years. And so you're seeing a lot of new construction that doesn't date back to 1961. There were only a few buildings that are still here from that time. But yeah, I mean, the deferred maintenance part of running a campus and facilities, when you have a campus that was born in 1876 and a lot of those buildings versus 1961, you do have a lot of facilities needs that were on the campus at Rio and that we worked hard on. And I know that President Smith is still continuing to take care of those buildings and keep them in good order. But, this campus is about 200 acres. It is in the heart of Brunswick, and I was mentioning the Golden Isles, but Brunswick is a small community, but you feel like in this larger region, you've got all these other communities that are really close that make up kind of the broader sense of where we are. We have an economic impact here in this community of $104 million annually. And that is so, when I think about the University of Rio Grande and the impact of Rio, in the community, it's very significant too. So
Sure.
both institutions play a real important role economically in the area,
Mhm.
but also in terms of the other kinds of impacts. Our students working in the community on service projects, of connecting with internships, and really having that town and gown relationship that's very connected. There's a lot
Mhm.
of, I would say, that connective tissue between Rio and the community, and also in coastal Georgia and our communities here, because we just work really, really well together. And it's just important to have those relationships in the community.
Perfect.
But
Right.
if I could just jump into a few other similarities and differences, if we have a minute.
Yes, yes, by all
I'd be
means. And
happy
I think
to.
as you talk and you get into students, I think there's some
Yeah.
other slides that we want to show of the student body as well, Michelle.
Well, I think that would be great if we could show those slides, because that's really where I want to start with the students.
You wouldn't find this scene in Rio Grande, would you?
No, and this is interesting. This is, we have our graduation ceremony. It's not on our campus here in Brunswick. We actually hold the commencement ceremonies on Jekyll Island. And it's at a
Oh,
convention center that is just on the coast there. And these are some of the
mhm.
dunes right outside of that venue, and students take pictures there. But you can just kind of move through these slides, and I won't necessarily speak to all of them specifically. But they're, I think, good background to different things that you can
Mhm.
see going on. And they're all focused on students. Like Rio, coastal Georgia is very focused on our students' success. And we have
Mhm.
a real deep dedication to student learning and to student success. So as you continue, you can just keep moving through these slides, because you're going to see our students. Again, there's another graduation photo, but as you keep going, you're going to see students moving around on our campus, different events
Mhm.
on our campus, just to keep our students engaged. But I do think that that deep dedication to student success, at where our faculty give 110% to
Mhm.
our students in terms of the teaching and the learning, whether it's inside the classroom or outside of the classroom, that's really what's so important. And that's some similarity that we have with Rio. And you're seeing pictures of students getting awards, students moving
Mhm.
around between classes. These are all the kinds of images that if you were on our campus, you would experience these things. And students finding their way around campus, and we're always there for our students to make sure they know how to get from one place to the next, especially as they're coming on with us.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Do
you
your
know,
students you mentioned residence halls, so that's
yes,
the one aspect. So you do have students that come to campus from some distance, but others are commuter students, and then kind of adult learners versus the typical
yeah,
college age. Kind of
right.
the demographics.
No, yeah, we have about 3,500 students here, and they come from all over the world. And we have students from 20 different countries, from 35 states. And um, I remember that Ohio has 88 counties. We have
Yes. Yeah.
159 here in Georgia, and we have students from over 100 of the counties in Georgia. So throughout the
Wow.
state,
Wow.
throughout the country, and throughout the world. And we have a lot of students who are first generation students, just like Rio. Our
Mhm.
students often come to us without generations of family having attended or graduated from college.
Mhm.
And I think that what's important with that is that our mission is one of an access mission. We do have some
Mhm.
enrollment and admission requirements like Rio does in certain programs and things like that, but it's an access mission. We take students where they are, and we're moving them
Mhm.
forward. And what we find is that our students, because of the small college atmosphere, the individualized attention, they do extremely well in graduate school. They are doing
Wow.
incredibly well in their careers because they're supported here in this small environment, but they're also stretched, because you can't
Mhm.
hide. And you are going to be asked to, do the presentations, be able to speak, all the communication skills and the leadership skills that we expect of all of our students. And so I think that that's another part of things. And I would just add to that, the affordability piece is when you're talking about first generation college students, and you're talking about communities where access is important, the affordability of this education is also really important. And I know Rio also has that deep commitment to affordability and have launched some recent initiatives around even more affordability. And so we're very
Right.
committed there too. We've been recognized as in the top 10 of the most affordable small colleges in the country. And we want to keep it that
Great.
way.
Great. And this is just a little bit of a side trail, but in the recent proposals at the federal level for 2 years of college, community college, I think is the word that is used. Is that going to
Right.
be a impact for coastal Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, we're watching that very closely. I mean, as opposed to Rio, which is a community college and a
Right.
four-year, through master's degree granting institution, a university. We aren't also a community college. We are a four-year institution, and so I think we're going to learn more about that. I'm not sure how that will impact us positively
Oh,
or potentially negatively, or neither. And so we'll be
yeah.
watching that.
Yeah, you're helping me. I did read a little bit of history about the University of Wikipedia of all places, but mentioned that when you added the 4-year programs, that the 2-year kind of transferred out to some other institutions in the region.
Right, right. The technical college system here really has those career-oriented associate's degrees. And so those were transitioned out. So I think that is, is something that we will wait and kind of see where that is. But, I think also in terms of differences and similarities between coastal Georgia and Rio, we both have programs that are very much geared toward our regions. And so for us here in coastal Georgia, those are things like coastal ecology, hospitality, tourism, culinary, those, because this is a really big hospitality and tourism area. And so those are programs. Also, criminal justice is a big program for us here. The
Okay.
Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, where most of the federal law enforcement agencies, I think there are over 90 different agencies that I didn't know there were that many that were federal law
No.
enforcement agencies, but there are over 90, and they do all of their training here in Brunswick. And so we have a lot of partnerships with them, and our criminal justice program is very important to our academic.
Right, right. And did I get it right? Do you still train? You can get a teaching degree
Yes.
in nursing
Yes.
and some sort of a business that's maybe more general than the tourism and culinary.
Yes, you absolutely. You did great homework studying the college. We have over 40 bachelor's degrees programs. So they're all over all kinds of, the sciences, humanities, arts, teaching, nursing, health sciences. So we are all business in all kinds of areas of business. So pretty robust and wide span of academic programs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing, Michelle, that you might comment on is being at a university, being the leader as the president of the university. And you've mentioned kind of the town and gown, the relationship to the community. And I think you mentioned briefly that there's been experience of some of the issues around equity, inclusion, social justice,
Right.
an event there that you, to the degree that you care to comment, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk about that, because it's an important topic for us nationally. It's an important topic for us on college and university campuses. In February of 2020, a 25-year-old Black gentleman, Ahmaud Arbery, was killed here in Brunswick. And there's been a lot of national attention to this particular situation. And he was killed while jogging in a neighborhood here in Brunswick. And it wasn't until a few months later where any arrests were made. And that legal process is still going on. No trial has taken place yet, but there are some steps that are moving forward in that process. But it was a situation here that could have been extremely divisive and polarizing in our community. And what I witnessed is the just groups of people from all backgrounds coming together and supporting one another and having important conversations. And I know on our campus, in the wake of that, we held a number of listening sessions, and we were in the middle of COVID, so we really couldn't do those face to face. We did them in formats like this, and just had listening sessions that were led by our Office of Diversity Initiatives. And it was employees and students, and just talking about experiences and on campus, and how are we doing in terms of diversity, inclusion, equity, all of those things. And out of that, we developed a commission on diversity and inclusion. And that commission has really been set up as an advisory group to me, to understand the climate, the needs, to drive policy changes, cultural changes that might be needed, and just looking at different kinds of required training efforts that we've implemented on campus. And just it's too much to completely cover unless we had a few shows to do it.
Sure.
But I did want to mention it because I think it's just an important part of continuing dialogue and not just talking, but taking action.
Sure. Sure.
So,
well, it's great to hear that you're making progress. I think that Ohio State went through some of the same kinds of processes of organizing forums, and again, at a distance due to COVID and so forth. And I got to be a part of a couple of those that faculty members led from the School of Social Work and Criminology, just different aspects. And it's such a multi-layered and multi-pronged set of issues. And but universities, I think, need to step up and lead and, try as best that we possibly can to at least acknowledge and recognize that there's work to be done and try to address it in a positive way. Yes,
I think so. And I think that when you look at Georgia and you look at our campuses, our universities, a lot of that saying, we've all been taking this on and really working to make progress. There also have been some other real positives that have come out of the discussions, and those are a hate crime law has been established in Georgia now, and also the citizens arrest laws have been significantly revised, and those are really important aspects, that have come out of the discussions and the work that we're doing as a state.
Great. Well, I think this whole thing is, somewhat, to a degree external, but then you bring the COVID situation and the impact on, I guess, all of our state of being and our way of living and our mental health. I think that's an aspect with students, staff, faculty that has risen in this whole milieu of issues that are all wrapped up in the last year and a half.
Yes, no doubt. COVID, has touched all of our lives. It's definitely impacted just about everything we do operationally here at the college. When we started the fall, we were prepared with, all of our mask requirements. So masks required on campus, our social distancing, encouraging all the hygiene and the self checks of temperatures and all those things, and the testing. We really followed the 3 W's and still do of wash your hands, wear a mask, and watch your distance. And we, really continue to do that. We started the fall semester, and I jotted these down. I wanted to get it right because I think it says a lot about what you have to do to be prepared for safety and health on a campus where people are working closely together, living closely together. We started out with 418 gallons of sanitizer, 9,000 containers of sanitation wipes. That's over 500,000 wipes. We had, our whole cleaning regiments changed, the number of times that restrooms were cleaned in high touch areas and all those things. And we offered free delivery of textbooks and curbside delivery and all of those things. We provided face coverings, all of these things, but we were able to still offer In the fall, over 60% of our classes face-to-face, and in the spring, over 70%. And
Excellent.
so we've really been able to do that, and we've had really good reporting. We've had some cases of COVID, but they've been, relatively low, and we've been able to identify those and follow the quarantine protocols. So
Well,
who knows what the fall brings for sure. We're still learning more about what that will look like, but we hope we're returning more to normalcy.
right.
And we're really encouraging vaccines. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that, your experience is probably, in percentage wise, you achieved more regularity, more normalcy in the terms of in-person classes and, return to dorms and so forth, but than Ohio State. But I think we're all looking forward to fall term, that may be hopefully, we're looking at most of this in the rearview mirror. Not totally. I don't think we're ever going to get back to where we started from. I don't anticipate that. But a lot of what we've learned, from our perspective, is that there are the technologies that we saw coming just got pushed on us a lot faster.
Right.
And those that have by and large have been able to adapt, I think we can keep that going and yet come back in the more face-to-face and personal affairs as well.
Right.
And
Right.
I'll just throw in one little example. We're having our first in-person field night at Piketon tomorrow evening, all
Wow.
about strawberries in a high tunnel without soil. They're grown in a medium and irrigated and so forth. And we have to limit it to 22 people, but Sarah and Pat's group are going to do recordings
Yes.
and then make that available after the fact for those that didn't happen to be one of the first 22 to register. So
Wow.
great to hear that you're doing well and coming back.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Well, and I hate I'm going to miss that program. I loved the tour, touring the South Centers and just seeing all the things that you had and the really innovative, cutting edge, experimental kind of work that y'all do there. So I hate to miss this. That sounds really, really interesting, but I'm so glad you're getting back to something face to face, even though it looks a little different. I think we've all tried to do that.
And of course, most of our audience tends to be rural people and, farmers, although homeowners are welcome. We don't screen the audience, but we will be practicing all those things that you just described that Coastal Georgia is doing with mask and social distance and all those matters. And we would normally provide some sort of a supper, a lunch, some refreshments, but we're not able to do that at this time. So we've had to say, bring your own.
I might just say in closing that I really appreciate what you said about kind of learning from some of what have we learned, what have we gained that we can take with us. It's not all bad, right? We've learned some things that can help us, and I hope we all take that forward. But again, thank you for letting me join you today and have a chance to talk about Rio again and also talk about the College of Coastal Georgia.
Oh, wow. It's been really interesting. And I know we've kind of skimmed along and haven't got to go into much depth, but it's exciting to hear about your new role at Coastal Georgia and Brunswick and back near some family and your roots. And of course, we welcome you back to Ohio anytime you're up this way. We'd love to know about it and be able to connect again. But who knows, maybe this will be the first of some catch-ups as we go through and we can stay in touch and perhaps have you back, Michelle. But the pleasure's been mine, and thank you for taking time out of a really busy schedule. I know as president, you have a compressed schedule every day and people that you're needing to see and take care of. But
it's my
thank
pleasure.
You so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.